Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. My name is Julian, and this is the waiver wire video for week 21 of the fantasy hockey season. Now I'm here in the Kakadu National Park right near Darwin, Australia, and I figured that since this is my last episode from abroad, might as well make it in a really cool place. This is actually my last day traveling, so doing this for you guys over here. And this is really an amazing spot, Kakadu National Park. There's just so much to see, and it's just so beautiful over here. That mountain there behind me is so gorgeous from here. The camera doesn't do it justice, but holy crap, this place is so cool. There's so much wildlife, there's so much to see, and I'm so lucky that I got to have this experience of traveling. And I appreciate you guys for being patient with me and continuing to watch my videos while I've been away. I'll be home starting just a couple days from now, and I'll be putting out a lot more videos than I have been while I've been here. So thanks so much for being patient with me, guys, and thanks so much for continuing to support the channel while I've been away. Now guys, as usual, before we get started, if you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and leave a like, and hit that notification bell if you do want to get notifications every time I post a video. The posts are going to come a lot more frequent now to get you guys ready for the fantasy playoffs and make sure that you win your fantasy hockey league. Let's jump into it now. Let's start with the schedule for week 21 of the fantasy hockey season. As you can see, guys, on Monday there are 6 games, Tuesday there are 10, Wednesday 3, Thursday 11, Friday 2, Saturday 15, and Sunday 8. So the off nights are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sunday is technically not an off night because half the teams play that day, but odds are you still might have some room in your lineup on that day because only half the teams are playing. So go ahead and check. You might actually have some room on that day depending on which teams you have more of in your lineup. Now, there are a couple of teams that really don't have the best schedule this week, and those teams are Columbus and Toronto because both those teams only play 2 games this week, and that's why I would avoid streaming plays from those teams for this week specifically. But if you want players that have a really good schedule, the team with the best schedule is the Chicago Blackhawks, who play on 3 off nights this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which are 3 consecutive off nights. So it's really handy for streaming. You can grab someone that plays Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then drop them for someone who plays on the weekend. So that's definitely a good strategy there. Then there's 4 teams that have 2 off nights: the Anaheim Ducks, the Calgary Flames, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Winnipeg Jets. Let's jump into forwards now, though, that you can consider picking up for this week. And number 1 on the list is Max Domi of the Chicago Blackhawks. He has really gained a lot of ownership in the past week, up to 57% now, because he is on fire. And with Patrick Kane being traded, he's really the only guy that's worth anything there in Chicago. He did score 70 points a couple seasons ago with the Montreal Canadiens, so he's definitely capable of this kind of pace. Obviously, it's a really hot streak. He's not going to continue that streak, but for this week where the Chicago Blackhawks have 3 off-night games, Max Domi is the perfect streaming option if you haven't already picked him up. Just a quick update, guys. Domi was traded, so he's still a pretty good option. He may get that second line center spot between Jamie Benn and Dadonov, but obviously he's not going to be that great option for the off nights this week like I initially thought, but still possibly a pretty solid add for your fantasy team. And I have Troy Terry of the Anaheim Ducks. They have a couple of off night games as well this week, and with Troy Terry, he's starting to heat up right now. He dropped below 60% ownership, which is beyond me why he did that. Obviously, he wasn't having the most amazing season in the world, but he's still a very, very good player, in my opinion. And I think that he is going to be enjoying a really good end of season. He's going to get some solid deployment, guys. He's already on a few game point streak. Pick him up now before it's too late. Then JT Compher's obviously playing incredibly well too right now, getting top 6 deployment, and he's just putting up points right now. He's piling on those points. I don't think it's going to last forever, guys, but as long as he's hot, he's definitely someone worth owning. And even if he's not super hot, the Avalanche do have a really favorable playoff schedule. If you do want to check out my playoff video, it's pinned to my channel, so just go to my channel. It's the first video up there. Make sure you look at that video, which teams have favorable playoff schedules. Be sure to make some trades and make your team as favorable as possible for your fantasy playoffs to give yourself the best shot of winning. Compher is someone that you can add for that because Colorado does have a pretty favorable schedule. Then Dawson Mercer obviously has been insane, has been scoring goals left and right for the New Jersey Devils. That is not going to continue forever, I'll tell you that. The shooting percentage is off the charts right now over the last few games. However, as long as this guy stays hot, I want him on my team. As soon as he cools off, he may be worth a drop. We'll have to monitor the situation, see just how much he actually cools off. But Dawson Mercer right now is a must-add if you haven't already added him for whatever reason. Then Boone Jenner, the Columbus Blue Jackets. I did tell you guys that Columbus does not have the best schedule this week, so Boone Jenner is not someone that necessarily is going to help you a lot this week specifically, but in the future, Boone Jenner is definitely someone that can help out your fantasy team because Boone Jenner is just a juggernaut. He hits, he shoots, he gets some points on the board, and he wins a lot of faceoffs for those of you in Categories League that have that category. He's just really, really good all around. Definitely should be owned in more than 41% of leagues. Next, we got Nick Schmaltz of the Arizona Coyotes, 38% rostered, and it looks like he hasn't been traded just yet from Arizona. He's still getting top-line deployment with Barrett Hayton and with Clayton Keller, and as long as he sticks there, guys, it's a great place to be. He's getting top-line, top power play time, and he's basically, that line is basically the only line worth a damn in Arizona, so they're going to get plenty of ice time, and he's going to continue to put up points, so I definitely don't mind him as a season-long hold. TJ Oshie, 35% owned, is starting to heat up a little bit, getting top 6 deployment as well in Washington, and Washington has just traded quite a few of their players, so Oshie is only going to become more valuable because of that. He's going to get better deployment, and he should be decent going forward. Obviously, if he cools down and starts not performing like he did early in the season, he will be a drop. But for now, he's looking good as a temporary streamer. Seth Jarvis, the same thing, playing on that top line, and is finally heating up. It took him forever to do so, but now is a good time to add him to your team. If you're in a league where he is still available, definitely someone who's hot right now, and as long as he is worth a spot on your team. Tyler Bertuzzi is someone who did cool down a little bit recently, but I do still believe in him. I think he's still a very good player, back from injury, and I think he's going to produce a lot going forward. Anthony Duclair is finally back from injury, got 2 points in 2 games since returning, and is getting some really solid deployment. Definitely like Duclair right now, if you can add him. Next, I have Nino Niederreiter of the Winnipeg Jets, guys, and Nino Niederreiter has just been traded to Winnipeg and has jumped right into getting a top 6 role there. While I'm not super crazy about him, I think he's going to do decent. And on a week where Winnipeg has a couple of consecutive off nights, it definitely doesn't hurt streaming him for this week for those couple of off nights. Then I have Anthony Beauvillier of the Vancouver Canucks, and he is my Manscaped must-add player of the video. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code word FANTASYTIPPED at manscaped.com. That's 20% off, guys, and free shipping at manscaped.com with code word FANTASYTIPPED. Seriously, guys, head over to manscaped.com. They got some really great products. Use my code word, get a discount, and enjoy the results. Now, why is Anthony Beauvillier my Manscaped must-add player of the video? Because they're trying really hard to get this guy going, and he has been. People have not really realized that yet because he's only 16% rostered, but he has been absolutely killing it, putting up points almost every night, playing top line and top power play on Vancouver. They're trying to get this guy going, and he looks good. Add him now before it is too late to add him, because he's absolutely tearing it up right now in Vancouver. First time I say that about pretty much anybody from the Canucks this season, but he's looking really, really good. Mason McTavish of the Anaheim Ducks is someone who's also a decent add for those off nights that Anaheim has this week. On the second line and top power play, doing pretty decently, been putting up points lately, so I definitely don't mind the ad there. Thomas Tatar of the New Jersey Devils is obviously somebody else getting top line time right now. When Timo Meier joins the team, that may change, but for now, Tatar is getting some solid deployment. Don't mind him as an ad in deeper leagues. Adam Lowry is another guy who I would look at right now for this week for those off nights, because Winnipeg does have those 2 off nights, obviously, and Lowry is actually manning the second line right now because Pierre-Luc Dubois is day-to-day with an injury. If Pierre-Luc Dubois comes back from injury, probably really wouldn't look at Lowry for this week. But if Pierre-Luc Dubois stays out, Lowry definitely has value for those 2 off nights. Then, like I've had for the past couple weeks, Barrett Hayton. He's been very, very good on that top line and top power play with Arizona. They're finally giving him a real opportunity there with Keller and Schmaltz on that line. And he has been producing, so definitely don't mind him as an ad for this week. Jacob Peltze, only 2% roster on the Calgary Flames. Calgary also plays 2 off nights this week. They're not consecutive, though, so they're not my favorite ad in the world. But Peltze has actually been performing. So if you're in a super deep league and you're looking for someone who can put up some points, Peltze might be that guy for you. Then Dennis Goriana of the Montreal Canadiens, recently traded from the Dallas Stars. I do believe that in Dallas, they never really gave him the proper opportunity to succeed. He's not my favorite player in the world, though. I don't think he is that amazing. However, Montreal is giving this guy top line deployment, so let's see what he can do with it. Let's give him a couple games to get going, and if you're in a super deep league, it might be worth adding him, like a super deep league, just to see, because maybe this guy can start producing and breaking out just a little bit. And then finally, I have Tyler Johnson and Philip Kurashev of the Chicago Blackhawks. Kurashev's getting top line and top power play time. Tyler Johnson getting second line and top power play time. And if you need someone for those 3 off nights and you're in a pretty deep league, Chicago's the only team that has 3 off nights this week. And these guys aren't that bad of ads. Jumping into defensemen now, and first on the list I have Dmitry Orlov of the Boston Bruins, 33% rostered. And Dmitry Orlov has been producing quite nicely to start off his Boston Bruins career. Obviously, he was just traded there from the Washington Capitals, and even in Washington, he was putting up points relatively frequently and putting up a decent amount of peripherals to give himself a safe enough floor night in and night out. Now he's getting top pairing deployment in Boston as well as second power play time. That's pretty good for him. So he should continue to maintain at least the floor that he was maintaining in Washington, if not a little bit higher, because Boston is a better team. And Braden McNabb of the Vegas Golden Knights is someone who is putting up some really solid peripherals right now. His hits and blocks numbers are off the charts right now. So as long as he's keeping this up, definitely someone worth adding for categories leagues or points-based leagues that give you, a few points for hits and for blocks. Mike Matheson's also someone who's doing very well, up to 27% rostered right now. He is getting top power play time in Montreal, so it does make sense that he is being added in leagues right now because he is producing. He's still getting top power play time, and as long as he is, guys, Mike Matheson is someone that I do quite like. Then I have Juuso Valimaki of the Arizona Coyotes, and he is going to likely be getting that top power play time in Arizona now that Shane Gostisbehere has been traded to the Carolina Hurricanes. He was getting top power play time a little bit earlier, a couple weeks ago, and he was producing with it, guys. So if they put him back there, Valimaki should have a decent amount of fantasy value. And if you're in a deeper league and you're looking for a defenseman that can put up points, Valimaki may be that guy for you. And then finally, Jesper Boquist, also 9% rostered, has been producing. Always seems to miss a game every now and then with some random day-to-day injury, but he has been producing when he's actually playing, guys. And if you're in need for a defenseman that can actually produce point-wise for you, Boquist may be the best option that you have in deeper leagues. Jumping into goaltenders now, and first on the list is Filip Gustavsson of the Minnesota Wild, guys. Filip Gustavsson looks like he had taken over as the starting goalie in Minnesota, but Fleury has had a couple of really solid games in a row. Either way, guys, Gustafsson is getting at least half the starts in Minnesota and is performing really, really well. So definitely a solid add if somehow he's still available in your league. Thatcher Demko is another guy. Vancouver's starting goalie. He is such a good goalie. Obviously had a very weak start of the season, and Vancouver's really not a good team, but Demko definitely could turn it on for the stretch run and do a lot better for the rest of the season. If he does, definitely someone I don't mind adding to my team. Cam Talbot of the Ottawa Senators should get the majority of the starts for the Sens going forward. I know Sogard has actually played some pretty good hockey, so he's probably going to get more games than initially expected, but Cam Talbot is a pretty solid goalie. And if he's available, don't hesitate to grab him. Phoenix Copley's another guy for the LA Kings. He's the starter right now in LA. I know they traded for Jonas Korpisalo, but I do think Copley's still going to be starting the majority of the games. He has been their starter for the last little while and has performed well enough for them to really want to give him more starts. Korpisalo, I think, might steal a third of the starts or so, and that's not so bad. Copley's still the guy that I want to go for right now. Aiden Hill of the Vegas Golden Knights, 48% rostered, and he's their starter right now. Logan Thompson is still on IR. We don't know when he's going to come back. Aiden Hill is their guy, going to get the vast majority of the starts for Vegas. Brussois injured now as well, so Aiden Hill is the guy that you want to be looking at because he's going to get so many starts going forward, and Vegas is a pretty good team. Then we got Philip Grubauer of the Seattle Kraken, 32% rostered, and he's still getting the majority of the starts in Seattle because Martin Jones is just not a good goalie. So if you do want the starter over there, Grubauer is an option for you. He's a bit of a scary option because he really has been streaky, but not the worst option for goalies. Ugo Pekka-Luukkonen's another guy who is getting the majority of the starts in Buffalo, and that's enough if you needed goalie in a points-based league. Jake Allen has been playing super well lately for the Montreal Canadiens, and in all league types, I would add him right now just based on how he has been playing lately. When he cools off, you can consider dropping him in categories leagues, but in points-based leagues, Jake Allen is a season-long hold, especially if you're in deeper leagues that don't have a whole lot of goalies. Jake Allen, someone that I do like quite a bit. Connor Ingram of the Arizona Coyotes, 14% rostered, is still getting the majority of the starts in Arizona, or at least splitting the starts with Kirill Vejmelka. As long as he is, guys, if you're in a super deep points-based league, I don't mind him. Looks like he has cooled down a little bit from that hot streak he was on, though. And then finally, Peter Mrazek of the Chicago Blackhawks is their starting goalie in Chicago. Statlock has come back from injury, has come back from his concussion, which is really, really nice to see. He could also see half the starts going forward, but Mrazek is going to see at least half the starts, and he has been playing quite well. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed the content today, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you guys next week in my home studio, putting out all the content like you guys have been used to for the past few years. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tip.